Hey everyone, welcome to the channel Dit Commando. My name's Ryan and I'm a former Royal Marine from the United Kingdom, and today we're going to be reacting to former Recon Marine shares his graphic combat stories PTSD awareness. Okay, now I'm looking forward to this one, to seeing what my brother Recon Marine has to say. Okay, and let's just get straight into it. Like, share and subscribe, comment below. Let's go.
So I'm Chris Bova. I'm a former Marine. Grew up in Park City, Utah. Had a pretty ideal upbringing. I feel like I hit the jackpot in all regards. I was born into a family that did really well for themselves. Both my parents, my mom and my dad, lived in Park City and provided for me everything I wanted. 9/11 happened, and it's not that I was living anywhere close to New York City or had any close ties really. Kind of felt a calling to join the military. So I waited till I was 18. On my 18th birthday, I went down to MEPS, signed the paperwork, and within a couple months was off to boot camp. The very first firefight I was ever in was in Samara Desert in Iraq, and one of the elements stumbled upon a group of about 23 insurgents that were ready to rock. We hit that building, did a raid on it, and the firefight lasted a pretty lengthy time. We were outnumbered, outgunned. These guys were screaming out of the building with suicide vests on, blowing themselves up, trying to get us. And it was just tunnel vision at that point. Pulled right in front of the building, and we just started hooking and jabbing. And we ended up killing every one of those insurgents but one. And there was times that were really intense and focused, where I remember every detail, and times that were kind of blurry. So the next day we were digging through rubble of a building that took a bunch of, JDAM bombs on it, and there's just dead bodies everywhere. And I didn't feel fazed by it. I was actually kind of like, I can do this for a long time. That was fun. One firefight in particular where I was a saw gunner. I carried an M249 saw, which is a light machine gun, and I was going down the main hallway, and a guy was just running directly at me, and I just pulled the trigger until his body stopped 5 feet in front of me, and he probably had 50 rounds in his torso. So I'd go on deployment for 2 months, come home for 2 months, and there was no transition period. I got off a plane in Washington, D.C. and took a plane to Park City, Utah. And the next day I'm home with family and friends, and it was just overstimulus, culture shock.
I think that's one of the biggest problems for soldiers to overcome, especially when they've been in a theatre of war. There needs to be a place. I know they have certain things available now, like you'll go for decompression in Cyprus, for instance, or wherever it may be, but there really needs to be like a stop short for these individuals to, to go from a combat theatre into another theatre where you're going to be receiving psychological care for quite a while as well. Not like 1 or 2 days, which they say, oh, if you need any help, you really need to be talked around into normality again, because the way you live your life outside of the theatre of war is not normal in comparison. All right, it's very different, and it's that stimulus that can affect soldiers or former soldiers. I've seen it all too often, guys, with people that I know, people that I was close with, people that I've associated with in the military, all suffering various different forms of PTSD, and most of it is actually surfaced in civvy street, in normality, in their home environment, in their normal job environment, but it didn't rear its ugly head in the military because we were stimulated in a different way. That's the thing that baffles me. It's almost like soldiers who've been in this kind of environment just don't fit in normal life, and I wish that wasn't the case. I wish I knew what the solution was. I don't. If you do, let me know in the comments, guys. What's your thoughts on that?
Shock over and over again, and I didn't necessarily know what to do, so I would just drink. I didn't want to feel the emotions. I was young.
Alcohol.
I had no clue what to do, and had no
Alcohol's
one
a
really
big thing.
to reach out to. Every day I was home, I'd be snorting cocaine and polishing off half a bottle of whiskey in the morning. And I burned bridges with my family, with my friends, didn't give a fuck. Some of my buddies that were on the same program as me, and we were also in the Marine Corps together, they were like, what the fuck are you doing, man? We've got higher expectations for you. It wasn't really until I sobered up I made a pact with my best friend, like, hey, I'm not gonna fucking drink, because every bad decision I've made in my life has been filled with booze and cocaine. Stayed the course and came to realize that I have zero fucking control over anything in life except for choice. I just didn't want to be a fucking statistic. I just fucking made a choice that I'm gonna go on and do things that my friends that were killed in combat or that came home and killed themselves would be fucking proud of. I want to make myself proud of the life I lived. I moved to Dallas, Texas in February of this year. I was introduced to Brian Shotwell, and Brian and I kind of kicked it off right away. Kind of spoke the same language, had shared similar experiences as far as the military life goes, and we both enjoy the CrossFit type training and always striving to better ourselves mentally and physically. And his brand is called Honeybeard Training. You know, it started off as, you know, an occasional Saturday I would go up to his place and we would do a little meathead lifting out in the sun in the Texas sunshine. And he talked about wanting to open up a CrossFit gym out on his own and doing something to help veterans. And that sparked interest for me immediately. I was like, man, I want to get involved in whatever ideas you have. Let me know. I want to support this. And then he launched a line of Honeybeard protein. You know, a percentage of the money he makes off of his protein sales goes towards mental health for veterans, because there's a stigma in society around that's attached to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, particularly with veterans. It's not a disease, it's not something that people are just gonna snap and go crazy on you. It's bringing awareness to this is really, really, really important right now. I've had a handful of friends that had nowhere to turn and nobody said it was okay to talk about it, that took their own lives. And there's currently 22 veterans that kill themselves a day. We need to find a way to help the veteran community so we can lower that number and hopefully eliminate that number completely. So the mission is to sell a ton of protein and align Honeybeard with organizations to bring awareness to help those guys out that are dealing with some really, really tough stuff. Enable guys and ladies who served to come back and live fulfilling, joyful lives.
What a guy.
Hey, I'm Chris Bova. Join us in helping reduce veteran suicides.
Honeybeardtraining.com. Go check it out, guys. I've now, you know, I've heard, I can't remember where I heard this from, but I did a little bit of my own research on some forms of I don't want to call it PTSD with some veterans, because I think a lot of veterans get misdiagnosed with it who've probably just suffering from something else. The reason I say that is, you know, whether we like to admit it or not, you know, war fighting, stressful situations, you know, blasts cortisol through our system, and the number one killer of testosterone is cortisol. And you know, people who've been in horrendous environments have had that being flooding through their veins for years, and their testosterone is diminished. And if you know one or two things about how testosterone works in the male anatomy, in the male body, you'll realize that suicide, severe health, severe mental problems come flowing with low testosterone. All right, it's a extremely common thing, and I just wish that, you know, there was a diagnosis for that as well. You know, what's your testosterone look like after what you've been doing? Because I bet you a pound to a penny, it's gone, and it's way down there. You know, and no wonder you're feeling the way you're feeling, because I've seen it happen, guys. You know, some people end up going getting treatment for it, and they're right as rain. They're not suffering the problems anymore. That's just my take on it, guys. Okay, but in this fine individual's case, you know, the PTSD that haunted him was through the combat that he'd seen, and he looks like a real fit, strapping young man, and I hope that he is doing well on his joint venture with honeybeardtraining.com. Go check them out, guys. Go support them. Go do what you need to do. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know what you think about what I just said there. What's your thoughts on that? Let me know in the comments, troops. Peace.